whipping it, whipping it, whipping it, whipping it, whipping it, whipping it, whipping it. Yo, what's good with y'all boys? And today I'm about to be bringing y'all a ranking of the Bad Boys trilogy from worst to best. And yeah, let's get into it. So yeah, coming in at last place at number 3, you got Bad Boys for Life. And this movie might be in last place, but I think that the movies in first and second place are in like my top 50 action movies of all time. And I don't know if I feel like you could put like one of them in like the top 100 action movies of all time. Spoiler alert, by the way. So if you haven't seen these movies, just click off the video right now because I'm going to talk about spoilers. The whole thing with Armando, whenever you figure out that he's the son of Mike Lowry, it just doesn't work for me. I feel like I've seen that executed in a million other movies a million times better. It's not his character's fault. I just don't think that the way that they executed it, and I don't think they set it up very well. I don't think they executed it. It just comes out of nowhere. And I always see people, whenever they talk about stuff like this that doesn't get set up, that's always their first complaint. This really, that's the only thing that really bothered me about it. But he doesn't want to kill innocent people, but then he finds out that he's been getting twisted by his mom the whole time. I like that whole part of it. I don't think they executed it in the best way, but then whenever it does happen, whenever Will Smith finds out that he's his son, it's kind of like a heartfelt moment to bring his character full circle from thinking that he's the most invincible badass playboy that could never marry a girl or anything like that. Now he's got a son, and at the end of this movie, it almost seems like he's settling down a little bit with Rita. No, I could be wrong. That was just my take from it, okay? Which transitions me into the next positive about this movie. I think this movie has the best love interest with Rita. I think that Sid and Max were really good love interests. Like, I liked the way that they did those love interests, where it wasn't like in your face and like you thought that they had to get together. It was just kind of like, okay, Will Smith fucks with those girls, and you could tell that he had a thing for him, but it was like, he's too much of a player. So I fucked with that about it. But yeah, like I said, I don't think that he has a bad love interest or anything in these movies. Like, whenever I first saw the first Bad Boys, I loved Max, and I didn't want her to die. And then I saw Bad Boys 2, and I loved Sid, and I didn't want her to die, and I honestly wanted her to stay. And then I saw Bad Boys for Life, and I like Rita. And now if they make another Bad Boys movie, which I hope they don't, but if they do, I hope she stays. And yeah, like, throughout the first, like, I don't know, like 20 minutes of this movie or something like that, before Mike gets shot, there's this part where Mike and Marcus are like talking about like how he's not going to be able to go on forever and he's not invincible, and like how he puts on the cocoa butter shit. I think that's what it's called, right? Where it dyes your beard. He puts on beard dye and all that shit. And I love the little touch of like after Mike got shot, he was like putting beard dye on his beard and shit. Like, yeah, he's just telling him he had to slow down. And then the cherry on top was they were like racing, and then like before they raced, they were like, "Hey man, like, just so you know, Mike, I don't think you're gonna be able to run like this forever," or some shit like that. And then right after he beats him in the race, Mike is all the way down there and he gets shot like 3 times. Yeah, I just liked how they did that. It was just like showing even Mike Lowry isn't invincible. And this movie had a little more stakes because of that. You know, you're like, oh shit, like, a lot can happen in this movie, you know? And, yeah, like, I'd say, like, what is it, like, 20 minutes into this movie, Marcus retires, and then for, like, the next, like, 30, 40 minutes or something like that, Marcus is just, like, at home doing a bunch of dumb shit. Like, that's another thing that kind of gets me about this movie. It's not a huge criticism. Like, I know what they had to do, and he was just kind of doing comedic relief the whole time. But, and the jokes didn't land for me as much. So it's like the whole comedic relief thing didn't even matter. It was just corny shit to me. But anyway, it's like, I don't hate this movie. It's my least favorite, okay? I mean, I'm going to judge it the most. But I still give this movie, like, a 3.5 out of 5, probably. Yeah, I'd say my biggest criticism against this movie is just the questionable dialogue. Like, you have the whole scene where Captain Conrad is like trying to tell this joke. He's like trying to be funny, but like it just doesn't land for me. Every time I watch the movie, it's so cringy. Trying to like, I usually laugh really hard at Captain Conrad. I think he's funny as fuck, but in this movie, his performance just doesn't do it for me. I don't know if it's like the way that he was delivering the lines and they were telling him to do it or what, but like, you know, there's the whole part where he's like, oh, and I'm gonna get fat, really fat, and I'm like, is that the best way you could have delivered that line, bro? Like, I've seen you do some really funny lines in this series, and that's the best you could have did. Minor criticism. You move past that, the rest of the movie's good. You know, like I said, minor criticism. Like, there's the whole part where they're in the bar and Mike Lowry's like, my name is Mike Lowry, and I will strike fear into those of the whoever dare to commit a crime again, or some shit like that, and I'm just like, like, just that is just such bad dialogue. Like, Will Smith actually did pretty good line delivery because that was horrible dialogue. Did you guys hear what they said? What, who talks like that? Who have you met that I will strike fear into the hearts of my enemies? Like, you've never heard anybody say that. Anyway, let's just move on before I get heated at this, okay? But yeah, that's, like I said, that's the worst part about the movie. But once you get past that, it's, once you push that and you just kind of ignore that part of the movie, it's like, okay, fuck it, you know. Captain Conrad's death, it's impactful. You know, I actually, whenever I first watched this movie, I actually almost shed a tear whenever I saw him die, because like I said, I like Captain Conrad, and I always thought he was actually a funny character and a good character, and I always thought he was a cool person and all that shit. So whenever I saw him die, like, after, I was just like, I wanted to see Will Smith go eat dinner with him and his daughter. And I was just, every time I watch this movie, I'm just like, yeah, they're gonna go eat dinner. I can't wait to see this. And then he just gets killed, and I'm like, oh my god, y'all couldn't even go eat dinner? Like, oof. Yeah, after Captain Conrad gets killed, that's whenever Marcus decides he wants to come back for one more time. One of the things that I didn't mention in here that I'm just now thinking of, my favorite part about this movie, other than like the character development with Mike, I would say, is the side characters, the new team. What is it, Ammo or whatever? I like them all. The whole squad. You know, Vanessa Hudgens and all of those other guys. You know, I honestly wish that one smart guy would have been in more fight scenes, because I thought he was a badass. But yeah. And then the movie ends with them, it's like a post-credit scene or some shit. Mike Lowry goes to his son, Armando's, I was about to say cage, cell, or whatever, it's the same fucking thing. He goes to his cell, and he's like, hey man, I got a job for you, bro. Like, if you want to get out of here, like, you can do some jobs. He's like, alright, I got you. Yeah. Yeah, you know how I said I don't want to see another Bad Boys movie, but I kind of do want to see the spin-off with Armando. Like, he was a badass. Like, he kicked the shit out of people in this movie and stuff, so I would want to see that. Alright, here's where we get to the nitty-gritty, some of my favorite movies of all time, some of my favorite action movies of all time. I'm honestly surprised I haven't done this ranking yet. Coming in at number 2, you got the original Bad Boys. Now, like I said, I know everybody loves the new Bad Boys movies so much, and it's their favorite and all that. I understand. It's an updated version, almost. It just is a little more watered down. Like, this movie, Bad Boys 1, a lot of times I go back and forth which movie I think is funnier, Bad Boys 1 or 2. At the end of the day, I laugh at the little details more in Bad Boys 1 than I laugh at the little details in Bad Boys 2. Bad Boys 1 is a movie that I am just constantly laughing my ass off. I've seen this movie like 30 times, and I still fucking laugh whenever the motherfucker dips the fucking pickle in the goddamn Coke. I don't know why that's funny, but it is. It's funny. But I've seen this movie so many times, and I still laugh at just the littlest shit that it does. Bad Boys 2 is a movie, whenever I watch that movie, I get more engulfed, and I just I get more sucked into it, and there'll be times where I'll laugh really fucking hard, and then it doesn't compromise the tension. Like, this movie doesn't compromise the tension. It just is more funny. It's way more funny. Which, that's honestly what I like about these two movies more than Bad Boys for Life even. I feel like Bad Boys for Life maybe doesn't compromise the tension, but it's way more funny, and it's not like corny like Bad Boys for Life is, where like, and I'm really fat! But yeah, this movie introduces iconic characters like Mike Lowry, Marcus, Captain Conrad, the whole fucking side team, you know, the S.A. brothers, all that shit, you know, all that shit came from this movie. And then, like I said earlier, I really like Maxine and Julie. I think that whenever Maxine dies, I want to see these motherfuckers die. Like, I'm like, okay, I hate these motherfuckers. Why would they kill Maxine like that? Why would they do that? Like, I understand you don't want any witnesses, but you're a dumb motherfucker, so you just go, like, so you want to see them die. You're like, okay, fuck these dudes. And then you got Julie, which whenever she sees Maxine die, she runs away. They start dumping at her, fucking dumping the mags. She goes on the roof in an intense, like, this is like, whenever you watch this movie for the first time, you're like, oh shit, like, this shit's kind of intense. Like, she's running to the roof and she jumps off and you're like, oh fuck. She lands in the pool. Like, it's an intense scene, low-key, whenever you watch it on the first time. And yeah, this might not be the best movie in the franchise, but it is highly entertaining. I mean, this movie starts out, and it's like 30 seconds in, and you're already laughing your fucking ass off, because they're in the Porsche arguing, and then this fucking bad bitch comes up, and they start arguing even more, and you get an idea of what these characters are. It's so great, man. Like, I love the dynamic and that dynamic isn't even really, I feel like it's not as much of a thing in Bad Boys for Life even, like, because they're not on screen together as much on Bad Boys for Life, so they can't really have a dynamic in that movie at all. It's just kind of like, okay, welcome back, man, let's go kill these guys, and then by the time you get there, there's not enough time to do anything. And yeah, this movie has the best score out of all the movies. I mean, it just starts out, and you're just like, holy shit, like, it's a dated score, okay? Like, it definitely feels pretty 90s, but it's a good score. Like, if you can get into the dated shit, like, if you're watching this movie anyways, the dated shit's not gonna bother you. You're watching a movie from the 90s. But, it's a dated score, but it's actually a really good score if you can get into it. And yeah, like I said, this is the most dated Bad Boys movie, but that's kind of what I like about it. It feels different compared to the other two. Like, it just has, like, a different feel. Like, the whole vibe of it is just different. Like I said, the score is like, the score is amazing in this movie. I love it. Like, this is the score that always stands out to me whenever I think about the scores in Bad Boys. Yeah, and then like I said earlier, Mike Lowry is one of my favorite characters in any movie franchise. I mean, this guy's cool as fuck. It's like Wesley Snipes as Blade. He's fucking cool. You just want to be him. Like, I mean, he has cool ass cars. He has a fucking Porsche, goddamn Ferrari. You just want to be like this motherfucker. He gets all the bitches. You want to be like Mike Lowry, okay? And yeah, the dynamic chemistry between Martin Lawrence and Will Smith is probably some of the best in cinematic history. I mean, that's honestly the first duo that I personally think, whenever I just think of, like, two people in a movie, I honestly will probably think of Martin Lawrence and Will Smith as Bad Boys. That's just my first, like, whenever you tell me, okay, what's two people that go together the best in a movie, that probably would be my first thing. I mean, that might be a hot take. Like, there's a lot of characters like that you can say, like, oh, they go together, oh, you know, whatever. Like, this is just my favorite version. And yeah, I really like the dynamic about this movie, how Marcus has to, like, go undercover as Mike because, like, Mike wasn't even there and all that shit. And then, like, Julie, she's a girl, so, like, you know how girls, like, they're, like, really, like, girls are really good with, like, social interaction and stuff compared to men. So, like, if you're, honestly, a girl can read you. Like, that's what I'm saying. Like, a lot of dudes be wondering why they can't get girls and shit. It's because girls can read you, bro. Like, whenever Marcus got there and he was acting like he was Mike Lowry, she knew that he was Marcus. Or she knew that he wasn't Mike Lowry. Because she can just tell. One second, there's a fucking fly on my camera. Anyway, she knew that he wasn't Mike Lowry because of everything that Max told him. And she's just a girl, bro. She can read you. Yeah, I really like the chemistry between Marcus and Julie. I think that there's some funny moments. Some actually genuinely funny moments. And I like the character of Julie. Like I said, I enjoyed her. Probably my favorite action scene in this movie is whenever, at the end of the movie, whenever Julie gets kidnapped and Mike just fucking chases after her, and you're just like, it's a nail biting scene. Like, yeah, at the end of this movie, Captain Conrad's operations get shut down by internal affairs. So that means that, you know, Mike Lowry and Marcus got to do a little off the grid work. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, they go to that place off the grid and all that shit. And there's like a huge shootout, you know, all that stuff. And then like there's this great camera shot at the end, where the plane that's in this building gets blown up, and there's a guy in the plane, I think. Well, regardless of where he is, there's a guy that's literally set on fire that gets sent flying through the air, and he just comes right at the camera. Ah! It's a great camera shot, bro. If you've seen the movie, you know what I'm talking about. Yeah, Bad Boys 1, really great movie. I really enjoyed this movie. I rewatched this movie so many times. Like I said, I rewatched it like 20, 30 times, okay? But yeah, coming in at number 1, you got Bad Boys 2. This is one of my favorite action movies, one of my favorite movies of all time. I grew up watching these movies with my dad, but this was the main movie that I would watch out of all the Bad Boys movies with my dad. Like, me and my dad, we would always watch, like, the Fast and the Furious, Tokyo Drift, like, all the Fast and Furious movies, and then we would watch, like, this movie, Bad Boys 2. And there's so many lines in this movie that my dad and me would just, like, re-quote, like, chitty chitty bang bang, motherfucker. Like, whenever he comes to the door and he just G-checks the kid, like, that's stuff that me and my dad would always talk about. Like, he loved this movie. We would always watch this movie. Rest in peace to my dad. But yeah, this is just a great movie. And yeah, like I said, this movie is very re-quotable and re-watchable for me. There's so many lines in this movie that I just know exactly what they're gonna say. And there's so many, like, just entertaining moments in this movie, man. Like, this movie has my favorite action scenes out of all the Bad Boys movies. Like, even the new movie, you would think that they would be able to top that with, like, all the new technology. I didn't think that they topped it, bro. Like, some of the shootouts in this movie are actually way better than the shootouts in that movie. A lot of the shootouts in these Bad Boys movies are not the greatest shootouts, but this movie actually has some pretty decent ones. Like, granted, there's some parts where they cut the camera. They do that sometimes, and they, like, edit it. You know, sometimes they do that. Most movies you're gonna get that, unless you're watching, like, Den of Thieves or some shit. Like, there's rarely a movie whenever you get, like, a gunfight like Den of Thieves or some shit like that. Okay. And yeah, although I don't laugh as much whenever I watch the original Bad Boys movie, I laugh so much whenever I watch this movie. But I just don't find it as a whole to be as funny as Bad Boys 1. But there's some funny ass lines in this movie, like whenever they're sitting at the desk and he's like, yeah, you don't even need flow seats. With them big ass glasses, you can see the game from the parking lot. I mean, there's just a bunch of funny ass moments in this movie. You know, like the whole scene whenever they're sitting in the store and they're trying to figure out what's on the camera and the porn comes on. Like, there's just a bunch of stupid ass funny moments in this movie. Like, and yeah, this movie also probably has my favorite bad guy. I don't think any of these movies really have a good bad guy, okay? I think all these movies, that's the biggest flaw in every single Bad Boys movie, in my opinion, is I just never get interested in the bad guy. But this movie actually has my favorite one, you could say. And yeah, I really think this movie has some, like I said, some solid shootouts, though. Like, every once in a while the Michael Bay-isms and shit will kick in. You know, every once in a while the camera will cut and it'll kick in, but this is still highly entertaining. And then this movie also has probably my favorite set of characters besides, like, the third movie. But I think that this movie's better, has a better overall set of characters, just because I don't like the villains in the third movie, and I like all the characters more in this movie than I like in the third movie. So, like, of course you got Gabrielle Union playing Sid, which I really like her character. I don't know if people don't like Sid or not, but I actually really like Sid, and I think that she's fucking dope as fuck. Like, she's feminine, but she's still, like, a badass. And, like, there's the whole part where she's undercover, but like she's smart and she knows what she's doing. I love that whole thing. Like whenever the guy was trying to bring her in the water, and then she was trying to play him, but like he's smart as fuck too, so he wasn't having that. So they had to go out in the water. I just love all the little moments in this movie with Gabrielle Union, you know. And then the whole part whenever the Martin Lawrence and Will Smith, they're like tailing these pirates, and they think that they're gonna stop them on a score, and then they figure out that the pirates are actually trying to steal Sid's car, and they like shit just gets way more real, and you have like my favorite action scene in the whole fucking franchise. Whenever this shit is like bringing tears to my eyes just talking about it. You have my favorite action scene in the whole franchise. Whenever Will Smith and Martin Lawrence jump in their Ferrari and they just start fucking driving after these pirates, bro, and there's like this huge ass shootout. They're dropping cars from the back of from this fucking trailer thing, and they're just fucking like if you do Michael Bay explosions and shit, this is all the best way to do it. I love this movie. I swear, this movie just gets me so hyped. I just watched this movie like 2 days ago, and I already want to rewatch it just talking about it. I love the action scenes in this movie. And then, yeah, like I said, you got the whole scene where Marcus's daughter's boyfriend, which I like how he ended up marrying him in Bad Boys for Life. Like, I like that little payoff, and like I don't know if he was always like a respectful little kid or like they turned him into a respectful kid, but I love that how they like they scared him to death, and now he's like so respectful, and I love that. And yeah, like I said, there's just some like the scene where Marcus is on Molly or ecstasy or whatever the fuck you want to call it. The scene whenever he takes that shit, it's funny as fuck, bro. I still laugh at that shit. And I've seen this movie more than I've seen Bad Boys 1. I've seen this movie like 50 times, okay? And I still laugh at that shit whenever he's sitting in the fucking, by the Buddha statue and he's going, I love that shit, man. And, yeah, I really like I said, I like the little shit in this movie. Like the whole scene whenever Sid is kidnapped at the end, and they have to go get him, and the DEA and everybody knows about it, but they're like, nah, man, we're not gonna do shit. Like, who cares about this girl? You know, she got herself kidnapped. We put her in there, but you know, who cares? You know, we're not gonna go get her. And I'm just like, fuck you guys, okay? But yeah, you get those. You get like a great like scene of like camaraderie and stuff. Like, it like makes you feel hope that there's still good people in this world. But yeah, there's like the whole scene where all the cops come together and they're like, yeah, man, I'll help you. Let's go get your sister. And then that one guy looks at him, he's like, I don't know you, but you look like you're about to do something stupid. I'm in. And I'm just like, hey, gang. Yeah, this movie's just highly entertaining. You know, it goes out on a bang. You know, there's some crazy action scenes in this movie. There's just, you know, there's like the whole scene where you get like those cool ass spies. Like, usually I don't even like spy shit, but like you get these fucking badass spies that help him out at the end. I fucking love just the little shit in this movie. This is like one of my favorite movies of all time. It's like my top 50 favorite movies right here. So yeah, Bad Boys 2 coming in my number one. You already know. Thanks for watching my video. I already know the deal. Listen to my music, Kyle G. G safe. I'm out.